Hello, everyone, and welcome to Five Out, a Ball Knowers podcast. My name is Graham Dinas, and I'm going to be running the point today. I am being joined by Austin Harrelson, Sankit Patel, Brendan Evers, and Nick Triplett. They are my teammates today. And welcome, everyone, to the first ever episode of the Five Out podcast. We are recording this at approximately 10 p.m. Central Time on Thursday, August 21st. You guys are seeing this video on Saturday the 23rd, early in the morning at 9 a.m. because we are going to be a weekly live podcast that will air for 90 minutes every Saturday morning at 10 Eastern and 9 Central, right before the slate of college football kicks off.
Weekly live podcast, except for today.
Except for today, where we are pre-recording our first podcast.
But just pretend it is live.
It's basically live.
Yeah.
If you close your eyes and you really think about it, we could be live. So what Five Out is Austin and I have gathered a crew of approximately 15 to 20 individuals that are going to be a part of this rotating cast of characters that will be coming on and joining our podcast, where we have 5 members, as the name implies, and we're going to be talking about what is going on in the world of sports and sports entertainment and maybe social media. Anything that's big over the past week, we will be talking about live on Saturday mornings every week for who knows how long, hopefully a long time. We also, in a couple weeks, will be launching a website, which I will hand it over to Austin, who is going to be our editor-in-chief.
Yeah, so hopefully we can get to a point with the website where we're producing content at least at this one article a day is the ideal number, I guess. But for now, I think we'll start with 3 to 4 articles a week, just covering just whatever sports content is relevant at the time. But we plan on having content for baseball fans, football fans, like any sport ever, I guess. We'll have content on them each week or every other week. And so the website's still a work in progress, though. So give me a couple weeks and we'll be good to go.
That should be launched early September, mid-September. We will start getting that type of content out to you. And obviously, wherever you're listening to us, whether it's the not live show on YouTube, whether you're listening on a music platform like Apple or Spotify, make sure that you subscribe to all of those pages, and then also give us a follow. We are at 5, spelled F-I-V-E, Out Pod on Twitter, and then 5 Out Podcast on TikTok, on Instagram, and I believe we are 5 Out Podcast on Facebook as well. So make sure you give us a follow on all of those pages, because we'll have content going out, short form content, clips from the episodes. So make sure you give us a follow on those as well. But that pretty much explains what we're going to be doing here. And as you're watching this on Saturday the 23rd, the college football season is about to begin here in approximately 2 hours. So we are going to do our official 5 Out podcast college football preview with this cast of characters. So I guess the best way to get started is we're just going to take a look at the AP Poll Top 10, and we're just going to go ahead and share our thoughts going team by team up at the top. So if you guys can see the screen I'm sharing, obviously we see Texas is going to come in at number 1 in the AP poll, and they're playing week 1 at the Big House in Ohio State, who's ranked number 3. I'll get you started, Austin, with your thoughts on the Longhorns and potentially their quarterback.
I know that we talked about it off camera, and I'm not as sold on Arch Manning as the books say. He's plus 600 to win the Heisman right now. I find that absolutely insane. I'm a huge fan of Clemson this year, just because of the weak ACC. We obviously are going to be rooting for Miami because Carson Beck's actually going to win the Heisman. So, right there for you guys over there. But I think Texas is obviously a top 3 team in the country. I just don't think that Arch Manning has done enough to be put in a position where he's plus 600 to win the Heisman, and then in second is Cade Klubnik at plus 900. It just blows my mind, which I get it with, team record and where you start in the preseason rankings. It's obviously huge. I'm just not. I also like Penn State. Penn State's frustrating too because obviously they should be the number 2 ranked team in the country, but they might be the most frustrating college football team in America. Like it sucks being a Penn State fan, and I feel for the state of Pennsylvania. So Ohio State, I'm cool with Ohio State. I'm really cool with the top 10. Shout out Miami at number 10.
It's good that they're up there right now, since they won't after week 1. But
right. I mean, it's like the same thing with Texas and Ohio State. They're 2 really good teams going at each other. So
That's what I was gonna say. We'll know. Hey, we'll have a better idea on who's really
right.
a top 5 team, right? Texas and Ohio State, week 1, it's not happening this Saturday or this slate of football games, so we'll get to talk about that more before that game actually happens. But yeah, I'm excited for that one. What I do think sucks, and this is like a total tangent here, or not, it's total little off topic, but why is that game at 11 a.m. or noon? What are we doing?
Right, yeah, prime time.
Why is that not prime time? And I know it's like NBC Fox has this big contract with the Big 12 and Big 10, but NBC also has a primetime game in the Big 10. So why is that not their week 1 primetime game?
Yeah.
That's the big noon kickoff
that kind of game, week 1 deserves to be under the lights.
Right.
Big noon kickoff has been a huge point of issue for pretty much every big fan of a power Big Ten, a Big Ten power. Because Penn State has been, all of their high leverage games have been moved up to the noon slot. And if you know anything about Penn State, they have their whiteout game every year. And that needs to be a night game. And so all of their highest, best opponents, they're playing at noon. Ohio State plays on Big Noon kickoff 6 times a year because they're the best team that Fox has TV rights for, and then Michigan is the other of the Big Ten powers that's been playing at noon every week, seemingly, for the last 2 to 3 years.
I think it's disappointing. Sorry to cut you off there. I think it's disappointing that you wouldn't think that New Mexico and Michigan would be good enough for a primetime slot like what it will be. I will say it's going to be tough for anything to match up against LSU and Clemson, just having 2 very solid teams in the southeastern U.S. matching up against one another. You're looking at a Clemson team that thinks they're ready to get back into the college football playoff and compete in the college football playoff against an LSU team that really had a disappointing year last year and wants to try to do something in the difficult SEC. That's probably going to be the matchup that a lot of people are looking forward to. And it sucks that we wouldn't be able to see a Texas-Ohio State matchup right alongside it, but I guess I'd give credit to Fox there of if you're going to throw that game in at some point this early in the college football season, why not do it on the first week so you don't have to have that bad matchup against ABC?
Absolutely. And then if you look at, and again, we're going to get to week 1 next week as well, but we have 1 versus 3, we have 4 versus 9, Clemson and LSU on Saturday night. But then on Sunday night, Notre Dame's playing Miami in a primetime slot. And so we have 3 top 10 matchups in week 1. This has to be the best week 1 slate in at least the last 10 years of college football.
And even looking at some of the other matchups that we have kind of earlier on in the week, there's going to be matchups that could play upset. Like you're looking at a Syracuse at Tennessee, and I know that Syracuse is not one of the top tier teams in the ACC, but you have to imagine that at least 1 or 2 SEC schools or Big Ten schools are going to have a catastrophic loss in that first week. And sure, it might not affect them overall in the college football playoff landscape, but it sure could hurt their reputation, and it might take them a month and a half or 2 months to get back to that point. And so that's what's going to make it exciting is what's going to be that team that embarrasses themselves, and why is it going to be probably Miami, or could it be Tennessee, or somebody else that has a top 25 seed and falls?
Last season that team was Notre Dame, though. I mean, yes. and I think that was week 2 against Northern Illinois. Which, can we just talk about how there was probably 2 weeks last year, right, where Northern Illinois was in the top 25?
Yes.
But it didn't. But with this expanded playoff, right, you can have that catastrophic loss, and Notre Dame was a prime example. If you're a good football team, you can play out the rest of the season and still make the playoff and go deep and have a deep run. So there will probably be a catastrophic loss, and I'm all here for it. Honestly, my rooting interest as like a college football fan, if I have no rooting interest for the team, I'm rooting for an upset. It's kind of like March Madness in that sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. One of these teams, it'll probably somehow be Miami. Will slip up in the first week or 2 of the season.
Right.
And we'll just have to see. But other than that, like I feel like this week 1, this opening college football AP top 25 poll every year becomes like something to laugh at the end of the year. For example, like last year, I think Florida State was like number 6 or number 11 or whatever when they started, or in the first AP poll, and just look at how that season went. So we'll see. I think this is all just based on complete feel. Like until we start playing games, we don't really know how each team is going to be.
Exactly, and what the AP voters tend to do for the preseason poll is they will reward teams that bring back a lot of their returning talent. So a team like Clemson, who snuck into the playoff last year, but probably was not one of the 12 best teams in the country, but they bring back a lot of their returning production, they get boosted all the way up to number 4. Texas brings back a quarterback who played some, but they're bringing back a lot of returning starters as well. That's why they're number 1. And Penn State, same deal, number 2. I'll go back to you, Brendan. Is there a team out of that top 10 that sticks out that you are really that you think is going to be legit this year and the team to beat for the national title race?
I mean, it's any of the names in the top 5. I wouldn't sleep on Oregon, or really Alabama for that matter. I feel like they always just pull some voodoo magic out and are relevant. I mean, there was an argument to be had last year that Alabama should have made the playoff, right? But I feel like Clemson this year, with how many guys that are returning, I would be scared of them as well. But Ohio State, that's a team I would never want to play ever. And I know they're losing a lot of production, but like Ryan Day was somehow on the hot seat despite winning 10 games last year, and has like been great every year at Ohio State. But because you couldn't beat Michigan, he's on the hot seat. But you finally get it done, right? So I feel like Ohio State is a team to beat. And of course, we were just talking about Big Noon Kickoff. Just go ahead and mark whenever Ohio State plays Penn State as that Big Noon Kickoff, because that'll be there. But when those two teams play each other, if Ohio State beats Texas week 1, and then I think we all then just look forward to that matchup with Penn State later on in the season. So my picks would probably be Ohio State, Penn State, or Clemson to be the 3 best teams in football. I think Texas could be really good, but I do think there is playing at Ohio State week 1 and then also playing an SEC schedule, which has really good teams as well. And it's the same thing with the Big Ten, but maybe to a lesser extent. I think the top of the Big Ten is as good as the top of the SEC, but then the middle and bottom tier of the Big Ten isn't as strong, in my opinion, as your mid to bottom tier of the SEC. So that's just my opinion.
Austin, I know you're big on Clemson. Pitch that to me.
Well, I mean, you've already said it. They're returning a sizable amount of the roster. But I also think, like I'm looking at this, just looking at the top 10. I mean, what experienced quarterbacks do we have in here?
Nussmeier.
It's a lot of
Nussmeier's one
going to a new team, or
you've got Drew Aller at Penn State.
Right, yeah. But do you trust Drew Aller to win 2 playoff games? No, you don't. Like
he did last year. He won 2 playoff games last year.
He played Boise State, okay?
And SMU. And SMU.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I forgot. Oh my god!
Don't forget.
But it's not like Penn State played poorly in their semifinal game, though.
No, they had a chance to win that game.
Like
and how
Penn
did that
State
game end?
could have won that game.
Yeah, the quarterback
shoulda, woulda.
he threw a late pick. A couple late picks, if I remember correctly, that lost in that game.
There's just a lot of inexperience at the quarterback position throughout the top 10. And I think that is very obviously the quarterback is the most important position on the field. But when you have experience like Penn State with a Drew Aller, they're going to be thrown in the top 3. When you had Cade Klubnik, who had a career year last year, he can build off that. They have him at number 4, right? And so you're looking at this. I mean, Miami has Carson Beck, and that is valuable. But there's no reason why. I don't think there's any reason why Miami should be a top 10 team. But you have name value with Carson Beck and experience at Georgia, whatever. So I think just having that continuity at quarterback is super, super, super important. I know Ohio State just won it with Will Howard last year, but I think we can all agree that Ohio State team outside of Will Howard was easily the most talent in the country. So, which I guess Ohio State could do exactly the same thing. They're still arguably the most talented team in the country outside of the quarterback. But I prefer a quarterback with the experience that like a Cade Klubnik or a Drew Aller has over a team like a Georgia, right? Or even Notre Dame at this point, because there's just so many question marks.
See, and you mentioned Klubnik, you mentioned Aller. The one name out of those quarterbacks that has some experience out of that top 10, Garrett Nussmeier and LSU. I think this could be a year where Nussmeier has a Heisman-type campaign, which we'll get into here in a second, and LSU is in position to be very competitive down the stretch in the SEC, make the playoff, and he could be he's a second-year starter, and he had a lot of glimpses of real potential last year, even though the team maybe didn't finish at the same rate that they wanted to. And on top of that, Brian Kelly probably coaching for his job, because since he's come to LSU, this is year 4 now of the Brian Kelly tenure in LSU, they have not played in a meaningful playoff game, or I believe they made an SEC championship game, I think that first year, but they didn't win it, and they wouldn't have made the 14 playoff either way. So Brian Kelly coaching for his job. LSU is a team I'd want to watch out for. Nick, I'll get it to you if there's another team you want to add, and then we can move on to Heisman talk.
Well, I'd add Ryan Day is a coach that's probably going to be coaching for his job if it's going to be Ohio State fans going crazy after the Ohio State-Penn State game. I mean, I think that Drew Aller is probably going to be one of those guys that just stands out this year, solely because if you look at Penn State's schedule, it's going to be, for the most part, a walk in the park. And I know that if you look at a matchup that Penn State has against Oregon and Ohio State, sure, that might not go their way. It might not be a win. Even if they get one win out of that, that's still probably pretty decent for Penn State. But you're looking at matchups against Nevada and Villanova, which I know they're going to have those early matchups anyway, but you're playing a Big Ten schedule with teams such as UCLA, Northwestern, Iowa, and Rutgers. I'm not an expert at college football, but I know that that's not typically your top 25 teams or your top contending Big Ten teams. And it's super easy for somebody like Drew Aller and Penn State to go through and run through some of those opponents. Maybe not Iowa. Iowa will somehow hold them to 10 points. But all these other teams, we're going to see probably this Penn State offense be able to go off and really make Drew Aller look good. Because remember, the Heisman is not going to go to the team that's undefeated with that quarterback. It is going to be the person that stat pads. And I think basically just looking at this type of schedule, if Penn State is able to stay healthy, if they have Drew Aller who's able to improve year over year, I think that he's going to be one of the front runners by December.
And James Franklin, he doesn't lose. James Franklin hasn't slipped up in how many years at Penn State, but they haven't got over the hump and won a big game ever. So
they'll still slip up against Ohio State. It's still going to happen. Drew Aller might still go 20 for 29 and have 250 yards, and that's still going to help him. It's not going to help Penn State whenever they're going to get a 6th seed in the college football playoffs, but by all means, it's going to help Penn State whenever they get a Heisman Award.
If they can split those two games that you mentioned with those two high caliber opponents, then. And they're 11-1. They're going to probably, because I believe the playoff format, they got rid of the conference buys. It's just the top 4 get those top 4 seeds.
Yeah.
They'd get one of those top 4 spots. And
by the way, it is kind of funny to see Indiana at 20, and I think that's going to be one of those teams that drops out pretty early.
Right.
I was going to ask, what is a team that we're all picking to be the Florida State of not to the extent of Florida State?
Probably
but to,
Illinois.
Catastrophically fall out.
Okay, I don't want to.
Matchup looks good.
I don't want to go full homer on Illinois because you can't. Like I said, all these teams at the top of the poll, they're bringing back all this returning production. That's exactly what Illinois did. Now, was Illinois a strong 10-win team last year? No, they had some plays break their way along their way to a 10-win season, but. That team probably should have been an 8-win team, and they're returning all their guys from that. That's still, I think, a top 25 team, especially.
Yeah, you're a missed Hail Mary to a backup tight end at Nebraska from losing one of those wins. That's why Luke Lindenmeyer wasn't at the top of the depth chart. We'll just put it that way.
I
know you know the play I'm talking about.
I do. But you have to, that overtime that was a catastrophic overtime period. Now, you brought that question up.
Quarterbacking of the season last year for Nebraska.
The team that's going to slip from the rankings, the team that I think that isn't ranked, that could have an Indiana or an SMU type meteoric rise up the polls, is Nebraska. Because they have a returning quarterback with a lot of talent, and that schedule this year is very, very manageable. Nebraska can get to a 10-2 spot, and a 2-loss Big Ten team in this college football economy, that's a team that's going to be really hard to leave out of the playoff. And I think
they
their
have
team
Patrick
could totally sneak in.
Mahomes. They have Patrick Mahomes.
And I also want to say too, Michigan is getting a lot of hype, and I know they brought in Bryce Underwood, and I don't know who's going to start at quarterback. It'll probably be Bryce Underwood, right?
I'd imagine
for the first game. But I know, from being a Husker, right? You can have the most hyped 5-star, Dylan Raiola was the best quarterback you could get in the 2024 or whatever class, right? And that is the pinnacle of if you get the top ranked quarterback prospect, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a Heisman contender immediately. Dylan Raiola had a great season last year, especially for a freshman. And I saw lots of Iowa fans were chirping Raiola, and it was something like if he had played at Iowa, that would have been their 18th best quarterback season ever. So we'll leave them out. But I think Michigan could be one of those teams that maybe is getting a little too much hype. Now they're good outside of Underwood, but bad. And not saying that Bryce Underwood will be bad, but if you have any liability at quarterback play, you can lose games really quickly. Some untimely turnovers can just turn things around. So I feel like Michigan, it'll depend on how they start. We talked about the slap in the wrist they got from the NCAA on our test episode. Maybe the difference in not having some of the coaching voices that he's used to will make some difference in some of those bye games, essentially, but I don't think they will. And I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan and Indiana fell out. And another question: Boise State sitting here at 25. Are they just riding high on the fact that they had Ashton Genty last year and are still in the top 25 just because they made the playoff last year?
They're there for
I
the
can
vibes.
assure you they're waiting for App State to take them down in week 4 or 5.
Gosh, bro.
I think Boise.
It's about time for App State to get another upset. It's been UNC and Michigan, and now it's time for Boise State when they're like 18th.
Oh, no UNC on the top 25 either. I also did want to mention that. Even
Yeah,
with
Bill Belichick.
You know?
No UNC and no Colorado.
Oh, yeah. I forget.
Those are your teams to
USC
watch
doesn't
outside.
play there anymore,
Give
so
it-
I actually don't care about
Give it 3
Colorado.
weeks.
All right, let's transfer the conversation over to Heisman. Austin mentioned some of the odds of some of the favorite guys. Once again, we'll just go around. Who do you see on this list of quarterbacks? And it's probably going to be a quarterback, but Jeremiah Smith is a guy that I really like. If Julian Sayin can just get him the ball a bunch, he would be the guy that I think, and Nussmeier are the two that I think are heavy favorites. Is there anyone else up here at the top that you guys really like, maybe in that top 10 range?
Ty Simpson being so high is actually mind-blowing to me. Like, how he has better odds, which I get it, it's Alabama, but, like, Sam Levitt.
That's a player I really like, Sam Levitt.
I mean, even like Jackson Arnold, Jeremiah Love. Like, I love Sam Levitt. I think Sam Levitt's going to be, he was great last season. Arizona State was one of those teams that just kind of popped off. And then I'm looking here, I'm seeing Ty Simpson. I'm not a fan of this list, but I think Cade Klubnik, I think that he should be the favorite, even playing in the ACC, and it's very weak outside of, Miami. I think Florida State will be better, but I just think that in a weaker conference with the season that he had last season, I don't understand how Klubnik is not the favorite over Arch Manning.
A guy that's sitting at 22-1 right now that I really like is DJ Lagway, just because of all the tools he possesses. Florida has a loaded schedule, which they always do in the new SEC, but he's going to be playing in a lot of primetime games, which is really important for Heisman voters to get their eyes on this guy. And he obviously possesses all these physical tools. If Florida can sneak into like a 9-3 record, I could see DJ Lagway being like a Jaden Daniels type Heisman season, where the team was good, not great, but the numbers were crazy and he's fun to watch. And so I could see that being a guy. What about you, Nick? What do you have on this list? Anybody sticking out?
I would just say America wins if it isn't a quarterback. I mean, take a look at just like the list of quarterbacks that are mentioned, and everywhere that you look, it is all quarterbacks. I mean, granted, yeah, it has been quarterback heavy. Gosh, I forgot that UCLA's quarterback is still that took me a moment. That's shocking to me. But I mean, I think I would love to see somebody that isn't a quarterback win it. Then again, I'm also a little bit of an outsider. I'm kind of like pulling just for a chaotic thing to happen. Like imagine if we're talking about like Caleb Downs winning.
That's a name that I would, at 150-1, I think he is arguably one of the two best players in college football. It's him and Jeremiah Smith, but it's just going to be so hard for a safety to go and win that award. But this could be the year because none of these quarterbacks at the top are really like a tier above anyone else.
And I would go out and say something about, well, you have a redshirt freshman starting for Ohio State. Maybe that highlights the defense, but it doesn't matter. Ohio State's still going to win by 60 in this first week, and that conversation is going to be irrelevant once more.
60?
Not against Texas.
It always
but
happens.
After the Texas game.
Sorry. Yeah, after the Texas game. Yeah, after the Texas game. I'm always used to like an Ohio State, Western
Akron.
Kentucky,
or
a MAC school or Conference USA, and it ends up being 70-13.
All right, Brendan, I'll pass it to you. Anyone on that Heisman list that you like?
Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
There is almost no game that they're going to play, with probably the exception of Texas, where and maybe even including Texas, that he isn't the best player on the field. Yeah. And here's the thing: I know your quarterback play, like, you can get so dialed into yards, but like Jeremiah Smith can change games by how the defenses are forced to cover him. You can't leave him in single man coverage. Like, he's just faster than you. And he's more explosive. Like Jeremiah Smith, I don't know how any defensive coordinator game plans for a guy like that. And the fact that he's just a sophomore, like, good Lord.
It's crazy.
And we've got another year of Jeremiah Smith.
After this year.
Right, in college football, after this season. And just watching him as a freshman last year, like, he was almost, like, clearly the best player in every game they played. And he changes games, and you saw it shake shape really in the national championship game. So depending on how Ohio State finishes the regular season, and I think if they have like a tough loss like to Michigan at the end of the year, like, maybe that could change things. But I don't, like, if it's not going to be a quarterback, it will be Jeremiah Smith, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Although Jeremiah Love would definitely be the other option, I think.
Jeremiah Smith is like it's like Kyle McCord throwing to Marvin Harrison. Like, Kyle McCord was not that good at Ohio State, but Marv was such a game changer that he made Kyle McCord look good. And I think that Jeremiah Smith is a better prospect than Marv was, but it's kind of the same. Like, when you play Ohio State, you're being forced to double Marv with, you have to have a safety over the top, and you're forced as a defense to really single in on a receiver, which is like, that's tough. And I think with Jeremiah Smith, it's like a step. I wouldn't say like a full step up, because Marv was incredible, but it's like half a step up, and that's just insane to me because he is a sophomore, and we do have another whole year of watching him dominate football. It's gonna be insane.
He's going to be in legitimate first overall pick talks.
Right,
like,
and that's
first receiver since
because
Keyshawn in '96.
You don't get, like, what, Corey Davis was drafted 5th overall.
Travis Hunter was 2nd.
Oh, Travis Hunter.
He's a two-way guy.
Yeah. Like, if we're just talking just purely wide receiver, it was Corey Davis, and, I mean, who else?
I'm trying to think of top 5 receivers. Drake London was 8. There hasn't been more than that, but nothing's coming to the top of the head right now. I mean, Marvin was 4.
I'll let you know if
Marvin Harrison was the 4th pick. Okay, moving on. We've got a little bit of news to cover before we get into a little bit of Week 0 breakdown. Just today, as of Thursday, the SEC has announced that in 2026 and beyond, they will be implementing a 9-game conference schedule with a mandatory 10th game against a Power 4 opponent. So take that, Curt Cignetti in Michigan. Here's the tweet that was broke earlier by Pete Thamel at about 4 p.m. Central this afternoon. The SEC announces it will implement a 9-game football schedule beginning in 2026. The decades-long debate is over. And so for the past 2 seasons now, Curt Cignetti has been weaponizing the SEC 8-game schedule as a way to schedule more cupcakes in his non-conference, since they have the Big Ten plays 9 games. So, do we think out of this scenario that Curt Cignetti is a winner or a loser, because now he is the one that's scheduling weekly and his argument no longer holds ground? Or did he win by making the SEC change? I'll start with Brendan.
The winner is college football. Nobody in their right mind wants to watch Alabama play the Citadel in Week 8. Like, I don't care, right? I would so much rather, like, here's the thing, like, that's where other conferences were winning. It's like, okay, the SEC, like, it made them look good on a national stage because all their teams, if you have one less conference game, that's one less game that your best teams can lose. So I think the winner is college football. Now you bring up Kurt Signetti. I still kind of think that's the way that these teams are going to schedule. Now that they have 9 conference games, it almost plays more into the, well, we definitely can't afford to lose in the non-conference by making ourselves play an SEC, a Big 12, a Big 10 opponent. So we should schedule a MAC team, a group of 5, an FCS, and then maybe one somewhat challenging game.
Well, they have a mandatory Power 4
But the
clause.
SEC, the fact that they added a mandatory Power 4, then they're definitely, like, I can just see now the SEC moving to the conversation, similar to how the Big Ten was pushing for 4 automatic bids to the college football playoff. I think you're going to see the SEC push for that number as well, or more. Just because, look, we're making our teams play 10 games against quality opponents.
That and the SEC, now that there's 16 teams in the SEC, and any given year, 12 of those teams could be top 25 teams. They'll tell you that. I don't know how true it is every year. But there's going to be some legitimate schedule imbalance because you have all these high-end teams, and you're only getting to play half of them in an 8-game schedule. Even just that extra game is going to be massive for determining who the cream of the crop is in the SEC from this point on. What do you think about that, Nick?
I think the winner is going to be the SEC teams that are 7-5 and going to be ranked 15th entering the final weeks of the college football season. I mean, we're gonna see a lot of teams like Ole Miss jump into the conversation, or anybody else that's 7-5, whether that be Oklahoma, LSU, Alabama, whoever that might be. There's going to be that one team that's going to have 2 or 3 close games and are going to be 7-5, and yet they're still going to have the bump over the 10-2 Kansas State team that's really pushing it. I think that it's a good move. I think it's going to make college football a lot more fun in the regular season, but at the same time, it's only going to benefit the SEC because you're going to put these top teams against each other. And whenever the College Football Playoff Committee is going to be looking at some of those teams that are going to be jumping in, aside from winning a conference, they're not going to be looking at that team from the ACC that goes through and wins all but one game and just squeaks in. I'm still shocked that Alabama missed last year and SMU took the spot. I don't think that's going to be a trend that we see all the time. If we're going to see the SEC expand into a 9-game schedule, then yeah, we're going to be seeing those teams considered a lot more, and that's going to hurt every other conference. I mean, it already was hurting enough whenever they expanded having Texas and Oklahoma jump into the mix, but I don't see anything anymore that's going to help any conference with this situation other than the SEC just bolstering their strength of schedule and proving that they just need to have an SEC tournament to wrap up the college football season.
I think this move is kind of like the SEC, at this point, throwing down the gauntlet and saying, like, yeah, our teams, like you said, can be 7-5, and now they can make it, and there's not another league in the country who can respond. Because the Big Ten...
follow up with that, like, who's going to be interested in watching... I mean, a lot of college football fans would be interested in watching a 10-2 Baylor or a 10-2 Louisville. But in all reality, which team is going to get more noise? Would it be one of those teams, or is it going to be that team
Tennessee,
like Ole Miss or Tennessee that's going to sneak in? I think a lot of people know where a lot of attention is going to be signaled around here.
That's a good point that I hadn't really considered. Go ahead, Austin.
I think that this just ultimately leads to they're going to expand the college football playoffs even more. It's just going to keep expanding because then now the conversation is going to be, well, these teams deserve to go to make the playoffs because they won the games that they were given, right? Like an SMU, for example, right? And so they're just going to keep on expanding the playoffs, trying to make everybody happy. And it's never going to work, right? Because everybody thought, well, okay, now fans can't argue their team missing the playoffs if it's a 12-game matchup or a 12-team playoff bracket instead of a 4. And it was even worse which is insane to me, that teams like Ole Miss and Alabama felt that they had an argument, which granted over SMU, okay, and Arizona State, maybe they have an argument over those teams specifically, but they have no argument of making the actual college football playoffs. And so
I feel so. Go ahead.
No, I want to hear you. I'm going to scream at you.
I was just going to say, I feel sorry for the person that works at the NCAA and has to hear all the people that are so excited about an expansion for the college football side, and then hear all the fans screaming at them that don't want to see an expansion in college basketball. Like, I get that those are two separate situations,
right.
But imagine, like, having to balance out all of the satisfaction and displeasure that's coming from both of those expansion scenarios.
It's never going to happen. Like, nobody is ever just going to be happy with it, right? Which,
no.
I know me and Graham talked about it off camera, what we think about, specific, like, a specific amount of teams and such like that. What would be good? Well, I'll throw that to Graham real quick.
So my pitch, and I think whenever we get this website launched, I'll start writing about my pitch. But my pitch, and Nick, you know about this, is the 20-team college football playoff, where each of the conference champions that win their championship game in that last week of the regular season get an automatic bid into the field, and then there'd be, at this point, 11 at-large bids. It'll go
You're
to
telling
10.
me the team that wins Conference USA should qualify for the college football playoff?
I am, because
there is no
they
way
won
you can tell me that UTSA deserves a spot over literally anyone that won 7 games in the Big Ten.
Well,
if they're 10-2 and they're matched up against an 11-1 Akron, then heck yeah, they deserve it.
If UTSA can't schedule these same games that the power conferences can, and if they win their conference, then we're going to be the representative from our conference. We'd like to throw our punch. And are they ever going to win a title? No, but it's the same thing in March Madness. Those teams are never going to win a title. But could they upset?
There's even an argument in March Madness that's done.
Yes, but if you win your conference, then you've proven, like, hey, we deserve a chance, I think, at the big one. And so
I think
maybe
football, the fact of the matter is, football is so much different than basketball because you physically cannot play games as often. But like a team like a Toledo might win 11 games and win the MAC, but their one loss might be to Rutgers, who went 5-7 in week 1.
Just tell me that you wouldn't get excited when Toledo is in a hotly contested fourth quarter game at the Big House against Michigan on a Friday night in late December, and it's
I would love
14-10.
That would be fantastic. However, it would be a hotly contested first quarter because that game is not going to be close in the fourth quarter.
But it could be. Anyway, so that's my pitch: is you get your top 15, your top 12 teams get a bye.
I'm not a fan of your opinion, Brendan.
Anyway, so
I know
the point
Nick agrees with me.
Oh, I love it. I mean,
I know Nick agrees with me, but he is here for the chaos. He's like, yes, give me Akron.
We are so gullible as a nation to start watching these like 11 and 20 matchups that are going to be going on like at 11 o'clock on a Friday before Christmas. It's destined to happen. We're going to fall for it, and we're going to just continue to soak it all in. I can already see all the headlines of an Akron versus a UTSA matchup.
And I'm already
speaking of gullible, did we see that Auburn decided to claim 4 more national titles this week?
We did.
So, I also
why
saw
did every
a post
team do
later.
that? Why was that a thing?
It was like there has now been 250 championships in college football, and only like 160 championships have ever been handed out. But there's like 224 claimed champions or something. Like, I don't know. I forgot the number.
That's
but it's
insane.
like a significantly more number of championships claimed than actually given out or earned.
Is that supposed to be shade against UCF?
How is this happening? Well, it's a little shade. Shout out my boy Scott Frost.
Scott Frost.
But Like, how is this like hotly contested? Like, how do we not know, like, who was named champion in 1947 or whatever? How is this for debate now? Is 2025, in like 21-25, is somebody going to be like, yeah, Ohio State didn't actually win that, Penn State won that, or something like that, so we're national champions? Or Michigan will be like, we beat Ohio State, so we won the championship.
Here's the thing: is the bright minds that have worked in college football for 130 years decided we don't need a true championship game until like the early 2000s, and then like, actually, let's have the two best teams play and see who's actually the best team. It took them that long to figure that one out. So we're working against a curve here with the bright minds of college football. I want to put a bow on the
You're
extra
telling
SEC
me we
game.
put a person on the moon and it took us till the 2000s to decide that we should have the two best college football teams play each other at the end of the year for an actual labeled national championship?
Yeah. College football is working
Sounds
so
more
far
fun
behind.
when it's the Fiesta Bowl instead of
Not a ball.
Putting a bow on the SEC expansion topic, what I think this is going to do in argument against playoff expansions is it makes every single regular season game in the SEC a playoff game. And these games should be more meaningful now that there are more of them rather than less meaningful and everyone's going to get in anyway. And we don't need to see rematches. I think that we would be fine with 8. I think 8 would be the right number. But personally, I want to see 20 and see those mid-majors get a shot to beat some good, not
so
great
does everybody
Power
else,
Fives.
except
And I hated on it, but I would love that, and I would be watching.
Dude,
I
that
have-
would be, like, so
Akron
much
to be
fun.
playing. Yeah, I want a MAC school or a Conference USA school or the American champion to be playing at Penn State in week 1 of the playoff. Like, that would be awesome.
I am going
It
to
would probably
pull up.
end poorly.
I'm going to pull up this mock bracket based on the AP poll that I have already created. So here's what it would look like right now. I reseeded, so there'd be no rematches. But you'd get South Carolina and James Madison, Florida and Tulane, Boise and Liberty, and then Michigan Toledo. And so those would all be home games on that week of Army Navy. Then this would be like the week of Christmas. You'd still get these games on New Year's, and then it's the same format after that. But Illinois getting a road game at Notre Dame on like a Friday night or the week of Christmas, like, tell me that's not must watch.
Ooh,
That would be
I'd say it's
that would
probably
be must watch. Like, that would be must watch because it's at least a power conference team against Notre Dame.
But like,
This has writing on the wall of NBC jumping in and having USA Network airing South Carolina, James Madison at some point on
Boise-
Friday during the
Boise-
holiday weekend.
Boise Liberty is being aired on a Thursday in the middle of the day. Like, there's no
I would
doubt
love
about
to
that.
watch James Madison, South Carolina.
That'd be a fun game. I think that'd be a fun game. James Madison, they're going to be a good ball club this year.
Are we going to make
Okay.
it neutral site?
Those would all be home games.
Let's put us on the playoff committee. We would do a
Right.
great job. We would give the fans what they want.
Yes, we would. That's-
Re-envision some of the old bowls. Let's make some of these like smaller bowl games popular again.
the GoDaddy.
Bring back the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl and the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
The Gasparilla Bowl featuring one
And-
of these first matchups.
The Pop-Tarts Bowl would get added to the playoff rotation.
A playoff offer.
That's a second round matchup now.
Like that, you are no longer like a tie-in bowl game. You are a playoff game. Get ready to learn playoff rotation, buddy.
The Duke's Mayo Bowl after winning the South Carolina James Madison is the Duke's Mayo Bowl, but they play it in Columbia. All right, let's talk Week 0 very briefly because these teams aren't quite as good as that top 10, and we kind of are going to need to get a feel for how good these teams are in Week 0. But we're getting a ranked versus ranked matchup in Week 0 between Iowa State and Kansas State. We're getting Farmageddon in Ireland at 11 a.m. in Week 0. We're getting a conference Big 12 game. But it's the first ranked matchup in Week 0 since 2002. information via Ben Stevens. I want to get Brendan's thoughts on this because I know as a Nebraska fan, you guys you've opened your season in a foreign country. What are your thoughts on that? Was that a cool experience, or is that something that you wish you had that home game?
Well, I can speak on my personal experience. I didn't go to Ireland.
Oh yeah.
Now I know we played a game like Nebraska that we should have won against Northwestern, and I think everyone was heavily favoring Nebraska to win that game. But things happen. Onside kicking when you're up 11 points in the third quarter, maybe not the best idea. However, it is exciting for the fans. I think it was really exciting to start the season with something that we were looking forward to. But the fact that there's hype around these two teams, there was not much hype around Nebraska and Northwestern that year. And it was kind of like last year, right? Even though it was an upset with Florida State and Georgia Tech had no hype around them. But we have a ranked matchup here. So I think both teams come in expecting to win. It'll be a really good game. I don't think these two teams particularly like each other.
Armageddon. It's a rivalry game.
From what I understand with the Big 12, I'm not really up on my Big 12 knowledge. I'll just put it that way. Now that said,
it's becoming less and less important every year.
As a person who went to a Big 10 school who played 3 years in a row of starting the season with the conference game not at home, hate it.
Yeah,
it was terrible because every year you're trying to work out kinks, especially with a rebuilding football team. The fact that we were at Illinois, in Ireland, at Minnesota in the 3 years whenever I started college, not great. And also, you're starting earlier in the season when you're playing a week 0 game. So my personal experience, don't love it. But, as a fan, and since I have no interest in either of these two schools, I'm going to be watching this very intently because it's definitely the best game of the week 0 slate for sure.
Absolutely. It's starting at 12 Eastern, 11 Central on ESPN. Any other thoughts on Farmageddon? Kansas State's a 3-point favorite. I think Arizona State is coming into the season as the number 1 team in the Big 12, but I think this is probably 2 and 3. So I think it's going to be an important game, I think, down the road in the Big 12. But again, I think that's anyone's conference.
Avery Johnson. That's all.
And Rocco Becht. That's the thing. If you can play a Week 1 college football game and you know the quarterbacks for both teams, that's a really good sign for the quality of that game.
And, just going back to the Heisman odds, Avery Johnson has the same odds as Ryan Williams to win the Heisman Trophy, if that's of any interest to anyone.
I think Ryan Williams is probably a significantly better football player than Avery
I
Johnson.
couldn't agree more.
I'm going to go out on a
limb. How much better
limb.
is Avery Johnson than Dylan Raiola? Or
is he
Miller Moss?
Is he? But is he better than we're bringing up my school, but is he better than Luke Altmaier? I don't think so.
Luke Altmaier's at 250 to 1 to win the Heisman, and Avery Johnson's at 40 to 1. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
I mean, I just don't I don't know. Because how this list is looking, I've spent way too much time looking at this.
I have something I want to ask.
Nothing makes sense right now in football.
Right.
Go ahead,
Nick. I want to get your thoughts here. One, I don't think you've looked at this, so maybe this is a quiz for the group. But what do you think the betting what do you think the odds are between Stanford and Hawaii? Stanford at Hawaii, by the way. What do you think the line is here? Because I think you're all going to be wrong.
Okay, I have not.
Because I just looked at it and I was shocked.
I know it, so I'm not going to say it.
Okay, well, first off, I hope both teams have fun in Ireland. Second, I'm going to say...
I hope the fans get some unpasteurized Guinness while they're there. They'll enjoy.
Okay, I have not looked. I'm not.
Why was that so funny?
I am gonna say Hawaii minus 3.5.
It's 2.5.
Okay, wait. Sunkit. Come on. You spoiled it for Sunkit.
I'm sorry.
Here, we can give Sunkit one. We've got Fresno State and Kansas.
Oh.
Wow, we've got a great week 0 schedule here.
That's at least Kansas is like fun to watch though. Like I think they're probably gonna blow Fresno out. Jalen Daniels is one of the. I think he could be one of the 10 best quarterbacks in college football this year. I don't think Kansas is going to be any good, but I think they're going to be fun. And Jalen Daniels is good.
Is it fair to say that week 0 this year is kind of just going to be watch Iowa State, Kansas State for an hour and then move on to the next event of the day?
Yeah, I think that's how week 0 always is. It's just an appetizer.
Yeah.
And this year, at least, we're getting like a truly like good game between two good teams for the first time, like I said, in 25 years.
Now, and the good news is every year there's at least a conference matchup of one of the Power 4 conferences in week 0. Like, that has happened every year. But the fact that they're both ranked and it's a rivalry, that's fantastic. Now, I think both of those fan bases would prefer to play each other on campus.
Yes, that's another thing that whenever it's a rivalry game like that, you definitely want to have those games. Even if you're the team that's not playing your game at home, I think you'd still prefer to go play at the other team's place, just for the feel of the stadium, the stadium pulse.
Like, if Nebraska played Iowa in Ireland, I wouldn't be very happy. Like, I just think that's, like, in my opinion, like a game that should be played at like your rivalry game should be played on a campus.
Yep. All right, well, that, I think, is pretty much going to wrap up our college football talk. Let's get, 15, 20 minutes in of MLB, because we're all baseball guys, I think, probably baseball guys first. So let's start. We have two Cubs fans, if you can't tell by the W flags in the background of some of our viewers. We have two Cubs fans. Austin's a Brewers fan. They played each other in a 5-game week series, with the Cubs winning 3 out of 5. Let's kick it to Sonny so we can stop Easter Islanding right now. Let's swing the rock to Sonny, and I just want to hear your thoughts on that Cubs series.
Oh, I was stressed out this entire series. I mean, the first day was just a blowout. I mean, Austin was probably jumping for joy there with the 7-0 win there, but it sucks when you're pitching. We can't hit. We can't hit right now. It is tough. It is tough for us right now hitting, especially when we find out Kyle Tucker here playing with a fractured hand. That was also brutal for the entire Cubs fan base, I think. But like today's lineup, having Tucker in the lineup today, but when Owen Casey's also hot coming off these 3 days. I mean, Brendan, I don't know if you watched or kept up with any of that too. Owen Casey was doing pretty well to take him out of the lineup today, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I don't think there's no world which Owen Casey this year takes over for Kyle Tucker. That's just not going to happen. But I will say I've loved that Owen Casey's come up and immediately been a contributor. Exactly. And there was a thought in my mind when they brought him up that he was going to have an opening or debut kind of like Matt Shaw, where it was disappointing to say the least, where he maybe got a few hits, but after the sample size, his OBP is like 250. Right, and we're still not doing well. So, but I'm glad to see Owen Casey, and if Kyle Tucker does have to miss any time with the fractured hand, then it's kind of like you haven't skipped a beat, because then you either have you have an option to keep Seiya Suzuki as the DH then, or he can still slide in and play the outfield. But you're right, like the Cubs haven't been able to score recently. I do want to note, I thought Cubs fans were being overly freaking dramatic when Ian Happ said like last week that he doesn't like struggling, but at least like he's at the point in his career where he's not worried about getting sent down, or everyone's like, this guy has a terrible attitude. And no, it's like you've gotten your extension. Like, you shouldn't have a fear of being sent down. And also, he's not like, most teams would love to have a guy that gets on base at like 325 because he at least walks if he can't hit. Yeah. Like, I don't think Cubs fans are, like, forcing their hate on Ian Happ so much, and I'm not here for it. Sunkick probably is part of those people.
Wait, what? I love Ian Happ. I have an Ian Happ jersey over here, sitting over here, too, and everything.
Okay.
Yes.
I wanted to get that out. Now, Austin, I think you would agree that the Brewers maybe have come back down to earth a little bit and are playing more like the team you've remembered all year, because now they haven't scored like 18 runs.
Listen.
Hey, how did it feel to lose 3 in a row? You haven't felt that in a while. Was it?
Yeah,
are you okay?
We just got done winning.
Don't make him feel
14
that bad
in a
right
row.
now. He's got his banner raising coming up later on this week for the 13 game.
Raise another
There'll
NL
be a
Central
big
Champions
event
banner,
going
buddy.
on in Milwaukee.
Why I'm catching
Just
strays
to
right
blow
now
it.
is absolutely unreal. Okay, first off, it's not my fault that the Cubs' offense is horrible. It's not my fault PCA sucks.
Absolutely not.
All right? It's not my fault Seiya Suzuki's been horrible. Like, what does Seiya Suzuki provide to a Cubs team when... do we need to look? Do we need to look at the stats? Do I need to do this? I mean, we can do this. But, like, what does a guy like... Okay, let's pull it up.
While you're doing that, I think it's very important to know.
Yeah, like...
I fully agree with Brendan. It's not just Cubs fans. Baseball fans are so dramatic in the first place. Like, I know that the Cubs fans are going to be given that mantra right now, but I think we'd be remiss if we...
Man, that 809
all other-
OPS sucks, doesn't it, Austin? Yeah. That'd be terrible.
If we look at
What
his
does
last
he
30
provide?
games,
Yeah.
in his last 30 games, he's slugging 228. What
Yeah,
does he
that's not
provide
good.
outside of his bat? Like, he's batting 168. I mean, PCA, obviously, like, he's a stellar defender out in center, and he's going to provide value whether his bat's hot or not. But his bat, like, Michael, or, I mean, it's just, like,
It's just
this
that
Cubs team
for PCA,
is struggling.
Yeah, it's because the slug has disappeared. Like, PCA, the average doesn't look as bad because he had 8 hits this series, so that's not bad, but I think all of them were singles.
Yeah.
And that's... You're missing
It's just
your
like-
offense because PCA hit like 27 homers in the first half of the season.
And then Kyle Tucker, that's so, like, he fractured his hand. Is that, like,
He fractured
Like,
it sliding into second base.
if you're Craig Counsell and you have a Kyle Tucker, when you have Owen Casey, who has been mashing all season, right? He's been mashing in the minors. Why keep Kyle Tucker in the lineup? Especially when, like, okay, yeah, Milwaukee kind of came out of nowhere when it came to taking the division and such, but, like, it's 162 games. Why are we letting Kyle Tucker at, I don't know, game 90, fracture his hand and have him continue to play? Like, that just doesn't, even if he wants to play, that's just, like, why?
I would never be blamed. I've never really blamed the player guy, but there is maybe part of it was Kyle Tucker kind of hid his discomfort because it's a contract year for him,
Right.
And for
Yeah.
every game he's on the field, it does make him more valuable. So I mean, there was discussions earlier in the year about him taking games as a DH just so that he could have more games played and swap in with Seiya Suzuki. So there's maybe a chance that Kyle Tucker tried to play through this injury and it never had time to heal. And then he finally decided to maybe tell somebody that he was hurting. And that's how we're learning about this. And maybe he revealed, but this is all speculation. But
Yeah, we
just kind
don't
of
know.
Yeah.
having an idea on how baseball works. Like, if the more games you play, and especially if you can play at a really elite level, the more valuable you're going to be. And Kyle Tucker wants to be a top 10 highest paid player in baseball next year.
100%. There was talks about the Dodgers trying to acquire him like already halfway through the season, before even.
I don't know, that whole thing is just, like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird to me. But I am so unbelievably not worried about this. Like, even if Milwaukee would have lost today, I'm just not worried at all.
It's not happening, right? Like, it doesn't matter. You've won the
Like-
division at this point.
Yeah.
That's what.
God, I hope I'm
when
wrong.
Yeah.
When I look at Chicago, like, when I look at Chicago and Milwaukee, obviously the main difference is the pitching staff. I think Milwaukee absolutely clears Chicago. And that is Chicago's fault. They could have added at the deadline. They added Michael Soroka. Like, even before him getting it hurt. I mean, what are we I mean, you're trading for Michael Soroka. He's bad. I know his underlying numbers weren't horrible, but...
when we were trading for him, we knew that he was hurt too. So why are we going out and trading for a guy that's already hurt?
And he's always hurt.
Yeah. When is he not hurt?
And then, you look at Milwaukee, their pitching staff is stellar. Mizorowski actually looks like the worst one out of that group right now, which is not something that you want to see. But he is an all-star, yes.
Nick Triplett, can we get a quick check-in on the Tampa Bay Rays? How is everything going there in the small markets?
Yeah, it's actually going good. You're going to think this is crazy. They actually had a player with the first name of Bob that hit a home run tonight.
I saw that.
And this was the first time that anybody with the name Bob has hit a home run in baseball.
Please tell me that's short for Robert.
No, I don't think so. But I will fill you in that. And by the way, that information from Major League Baseball. Going to see the Durham Bulls about a month ago. I think his name is Bob Sweeney. Like, he was actually getting a ton of chants and cheers at Durham. Like, he was the fan favorite. And so, like, about an hour before we jumped on, I kind of did a double take and was like, oh my goodness, that was him. And
was he playing at? Was it at Steinbrenner?
I think it was at Steinbrenner, yeah, because St.
So
Louis
a guy named Bob hit a homer at a field that starts with the name George. Bob hit one at the George, everybody.
It's Bob Seymour.
Is that what? Are we calling it the George or are we calling it the Steinbrenner?
George.
Well, I don't know. The George fit more for my little bit there, but you can just tell me to shut up now.
That's fair.
But anyway.
No, I just can't ever. I think Steinbrenner is always going to have to be the name that's said. Mainly just because he was the one on Seinfeld. I know George was on there as well, but point being, the Tampa Bay Rays, are they the most surprising team this year?
No, they're far from it. Far from the most surprising team.
Are we sure?
I would say they're roughly the 22nd most surprising team this year.
What would be the teams that are not as surprising as them? Oh my goodness! Yeah, my apologies. I didn't realize that Tampa Bay fell. I think the last time I looked at baseball standings was probably about a month ago, and now I'm seeing that they are 61 and 67.
All right, does it for Nick Triplett's small market check-in.
Hey, our
Just
Cardinals.
wait until I start talking about the Athletics.
Our Cardinals beat the Rays today. Knocked them down to 6 under. They're sitting at they're still in the race. 7 back in the wild card. The Cardinals are back down to 4 out of the wild card.
That leads me into something that I am genuinely curious about, because I know that Cubs fans have maybe understandably been scared about their state of the team right now, and it's probably only elevated with Kyle Tucker's news. Are you guys seriously nervous that the Cubs wouldn't make the playoffs?
I don't think so. Because while the Cubs have been struggling... here's the thing. While the Cubs have been struggling, there's been teams below them in the wild card that have struggled just as much. So they haven't really lost... yes, they're not winning the division anymore. But they've still consistently stayed 5 games up on the first wild card. And then you would have to there's teams like the Reds for a while were catching up, but then I guess at least Milwaukee swept them, so that while the Cubs were losing, they weren't losing any games to them. And we know the Dodgers are probably going to take the NL West. So
the Padres are right there though.
The Padres are what?
The Padres. But here's the thing though, the Cubs aren't going to drop 3 spots down. The Dodgers and Padres, you're going to be competing with the Padres and then somebody from the NL East, probably the Mets.
The Mets would be 6.
Yeah.
The Mets right now, and who's winning the NL East?
The Phillies.
I don't even know who's winning. The Phillies,
right? The Phillies, yeah.
Well, okay, so
I don't think
I was going to say that brings us into our next
story. I'm not worried
story.
about them missing the playoffs, but I will say I wouldn't be 100% surprised if it happened.
That would
I've
be
seen that.
insane.
I've seen this movie before.
Oh yeah, we all have. I'm not going to be worried about making playoffs, but the problem is, as soon as we get in there, our pitching is going to fall apart, in my opinion.
Watch out
I disagree.
for the Diamondbacks.
No,
you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that.
I
actually disagree.
5.5 games.
I think the Cubs do a marvelous job this year of giving up somehow like 4 or 5 runs a game, but they just can't score. Like
that
we're
is
averaging
very
like two runs a game since the All-Star, and that's not the number. I'm just the fan in me is speculating on statistics here.
Well, that's exactly what Shota did tonight. Shota did amazing today, just for us to score 1 run today.
And me speculating
BTA.
the Cubs haven't won since June 30th.
Now I do want to talk about like the Yankees skid for the last few weeks, and then some of the AL wildcard, because there has been way more shifting in the AL wildcard race.
The Yankees have recovered recently, and they're back in the 4th spot. But Seattle is on like a big time skid right now, and they are opening the door right now for the teams that were struggling big. Everyone was expecting a big year out of the AL Central because they put together a pretty strong performance last year. Yeah. And they just came out the gates really slow, but Kansas City and Cleveland are inching back into this wild card race. I'll pull up the standings right now. Which again,
performance has been a big dumper.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, Cal Raleigh has cooled off, and I think maybe that was predictable, right? You're not going to have way more than a career best year. So you know,
oh, that's
I
the
think
Los
we all
Angeles Angels. Hello.
So these are your wild card standings. Of course, this is going to be outdated by the time this airs, but Kansas City and Cleveland are getting in the mix there in the AL, and that kind of brings us to our other argument, which is who are the real title contenders right now? Because I think you'd have to say Milwaukee because they're the best team in baseball record-wise. The one other team that I'm fairly confident in that they have the capability to win the title is the Philadelphia Phillies. Yeah. And they just lost Zach Wheeler. We know that. But they have depth in their staff, and they have depth in their lineup. And they're playing good enough ball. They're not peaking it too early, like the Brewers may or may not be. So that's the one team. There's not a single team in the AL that I'm super nervous about if I was an NL team, except maybe the Astros, but they've been so injury-plagued all year that I don't know if maybe they'll all get healthy at the tail end. But
so
the NL certainly seems to be the stronger league.
If we look at Philadelphia, Zach Wheeler going down is
catastrophic. Bad beat.
Especially blood clot and such, which that's another conversation because the blood clots in sports have been insane. But anyways, so if you're Philly, you're starting Christopher Sanchez game 1. Easy, no-brainer. And then it's probably Luzardo.
Oh, yeah.
In game 2. And then what? You're going to go Aaron Nola has just been
Nola's been bad.
And then
Ranger Suarez.
There's Ranger. Yeah, I always forget about Ranger. And then a combination of Painter, Nola. The bullpen's good.
I'm saying they trade for Yohan Duran.
In baseball. So if they can make it through 5 innings, which is what every starting pitcher who's ever thrown a playoff game is asked to do, is just go 5 innings. Just missing Zach Wheeler, just having to start Luzardo isn't probably ideal.
Luzardo did really well
agree.
2 days ago.
But I think that's the argument to be made for Milwaukee, though, is that you're much more confident in your starting rotation if you're the Milwaukee Brewers when it comes to the playoff, or when it comes to playoff time. Just 1 to 3 in Milwaukee's rotation, you're much more confident than you would. We're still questioning the Phillies have been excellent, but the fact that there's a definitive question of do you start Nola game 3, or do you maybe go bullpen game or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem the Cubs have. when they cut, it's like, okay,
Yeah,
you're
what do you
going to
do
start
game
Matthew
3?
Boyd. You're going to start Matthew Boyd, and then you're going to start Shota Imanaga. But then, is it Colin Ray? Is it Cade Horton? Cade Horton's been great recently. But, like, that's
Colin
not
Ray
good.
If Colin Ray starts a playoff
Right.
game, I'm going to lose my ever-living mind.
But
he didn't even I don't even think
you see
he
my
made
problem
the
here.
playoff roster for Milwaukee last season. Funny enough.
Now, Jamison Tyone is back. But
That is true.
hopefully he stays healthy, but he's had one start since being back. So, like, with the Cubs, it's like, okay, here's a question for you as a Milwaukee fan. Austin, like, where does Mizorowski fit in your playoff rotation since he's been maybe the most inconsistent recently?
I think that if Milwaukee goes into a playoff series, right, I think game 1 is Freddie. Freddie's been stellar. I think it goes Freddie. I think it's Woodruff. 1 and 2, easy. I think Miz should come out of the bullpen during the playoffs just because I think it makes him more versatile at that point. And he has been so unbelievably inconsistent. And Milwaukee's been so weird about his injuries. Like, he took a ball off of his shin and he pitched the rest of the game. Like, nothing. I mean, he threw phenomenal at that point. I think it was against the Cubs, but he's thrown on the IL, and they're babying him so much. It makes me think they expect him to go 7 innings in a playoff game, or they are just trying to limit him to be a bullpen weapon, essentially.
Here's what worries me with Mizorowski come playoff time is I get worried of the big inning with Mizorowski because he's had several innings in his recent where he's had a 35 pitch inning or plus, and we know like firepower comes out in the playoffs. Like there could be a moment where he just walks a couple of guys against Philly, and then Schwarber comes up, and on the first pitch you accidentally. Even though it's like a 96 mile per hour slider, you could hang one middle of the plate, and then all of a sudden you get like 3-run homer. So maybe that's what worries me with Mizorowski is because he throws so hard and is such a dynamic player. I mean, he's just doing ridiculous things, but there is some control issues there that have led to some tough innings where he's had to throw a lot of pitches and work hard, even if he has gotten out of them recently.
Right.
Well, I think the biggest thing that's worrisome about Mizorowski is he's not on the Dodgers roster. And it doesn't matter who is on any roster because we're not talking about the Dodgers nearly enough.
I was going to
It does not
say...
matter. We could talk about the Phillies. We could talk about the Astros. There hasn't even been a mention of the Tigers. And yet none of it matters because we're going to go into October and we're going to have a Dodgers team that's probably going to be fairly healthy and just steamroll through the playoffs again. The fact that Kershaw still has a sub 3.5 ERA and is probably not going to be viewed as the number one starter on that team by the time.
But we just
October
talked
comes
about
around.
the Dodgers and playoffs and Clayton Kershaw. Like,
and that's fair. Yeah.
Brandon Woodruff.
Look, it's 12-16 on the
lives
East
in
Coast,
Clayton
and
Kershaw's head.
everything just kind of like gets jumbled up, and so like I think I was still focused on like the Phillies talk. I mean, look, the Dodgers are probably going to make it through, but what I will say is I think there does need to be more of a conversation around the Padres. I know that they did not play very well against the Dodgers the last few weeks, but at the same time, you're going to want to look at a team that's going to have pretty big depth, especially whenever it comes to offense. And I think that's something that the Padres tend to be forgotten about. I mean, we do forget that Tatis, Machado, Bogarts, many other players that I know I'm not thinking of right now, it's just a 5-game series. And if the Padres are able to click things together in 5 games, I do think that they have what it takes to go finally win a World Series. I mean, they were just a couple runs away from doing it last year, and I don't think that it's really too far off for them to do something like that this October.
is there a more scary bullpen? Like, I know we mentioned the Phillies, but Jason, Adam, Mason Miller,
Robert Suarez.
Jason, and oh my God, yeah, Robert Suarez. Like those guys. Like I don't know if there's a more scary bullpen right now. Like if you get to the 7th inning, aside from the Diamondbacks game that I went to 2 weeks ago that I left early because the D-backs didn't score, and I'm like, oh, Suarez and Miller are going to come in, so this game's over. And then I think I forgot even who hit the homer, but it was like hit off a 104 mile per hour. Yeah, Gurriel. Yeah. I'm mad at myself
Brendan,
to this day.
Like, I think you know too, Brendan, like, the conversation in October is not going to be on starting pitching. We know that it is going to be focused completely around the 4 or 5 bullpen arms that are going to be able to push a team through. And if the Padres are going to have that much bullpen depth and not have injuries between now and October, then yeah, I mean, all these other teams are going to have to look out because hypothetically they throw Yu Darvish or whoever else they want to throw, Dylan Cease, even if he's not the Dylan Cease that we're familiar with. You take him 2 times through the lineup, and then you go into your bullpen. And that is probably the formula for success that we're going to see with some of these teams, because isn't it the National League that even gets an extra day off in one of the early rounds? These guys are going to be well rested and well ready to go, and I think it's going to be a mistake for us to not consider a team like
that's
the Padres
that's a crazy, that's a crazy scary wild card team.
Yeah.
If they are in fact a wild card team, like I would not want to play them in a 3-game series to decide if you even move on to the divisional series. Like I think San Diego, you're exactly right. And I've seen them in person a few times. Like, there's some buzz, and that offense can strike quickly. It just depends on if the top of the order. And I do not like players like Luis Arraez, but I mean, he can spark a big inning by just getting on base because you've got guys like Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado behind you, and Gavin Sheets even is like playing better. And it's amazing what happens when you get out of Chicago and don't play for the White Sox.
Shout out Andrew Vaughn. I mean, she's going to bring that up.
And to even piggyback onto that and mention another team, I know that right now, rightfully so, they're not going to be considered, but I mean, the New York Mets have quite a few bullpen arms that if they are ready to go for October, then you might want to watch out for them. I mean, it's not totally crazy to see them not make a deep run. I know that they don't have as much depth as like the Padres, but would it be that much of a shock to you? And I guess let me word it this way. I mean, would you be more confident in a New York bullpen, or would you be more confident in one of the central bullpens, whether it's Chicago or Milwaukee? Like, I'm genuinely
I'm interested. Austin, how do you feel about the pen?
I don't mind. I mean,
like outside of Trevor McGill, how confident are you?
Abner Uribe is lights out. Even though he's scary every once in a while, like, especially today. But I mean, he leads baseball in holds. Trevor McGill was an all-star. And I think that's where Mizorowski coming out of the bullpen changes a lot of things for Milwaukee. Is, you talk about having, a Mason Miller coming out of the bullpen or Robert Suarez. Well, you're throwing Jacob Mizorowski into that bullpen. I think the talent is absolutely 1,000% there, on par with a Mason Miller even.
Can you imagine a 7th inning in a tie game, or an 8th inning, Mason Miller comes out of the bullpen for San Diego and then throwing 105, and then out comes Jacob Mizorowski throwing a 92 mile per hour freaking curveball, and then follows it up with a 103 mile per hour 2-seamer that moves like 17 inches of horizontal break.
Right.
That is insane.
Dude, it's like I'm not worried about Milwaukee's bullpen. Now, I do think that Ryan Helsley sucks and has been horrible in New York. Like, he has been bad.
I couldn't disagree with that take, Warren.
He's been bad. What do you mean?
He has a
I can't go
3.6
against
ERA
Ryan
right now.
Helsley.
He has a
I'll have to
3.6 ERA right now.
I'm telling you, do we need to? I mean, we. Hey, do I need
Can we
to bring
pull up the
stats?
xERA for a sec?
His xERA. We just need to see.
What's his
what he's
FIP
throwing.
actually? That's actually.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So,
Throw some
in his last 15 games. Now I don't know how many of these are with the Mets. I'm just seeing the last 15 games. He has a 7.11 ERA. William Contreras absolutely hit a piss missile off of Ryan Helsley. And then the next game, this is what's so funny, bro, is that he comes in against Milwaukee, gets clobbered by William Contreras, and then they throw him the next day, and the same exact thing happens. And it's like, the way that, like, and we watched it with Phil Maton in the playoffs last year. Like, New York, that game shouldn't have even went to a third game against Milwaukee. But they throw Phil Maton. Garrett Mitchell hits a homer. Milwaukee ends up winning the game. And then, we're New York. We're going to actually throw Phil Maton again. And then he gives up back-to-back home runs to Jake Bowers and Sal Frelick. Like, the Mets have been bad. Juan Soto has been, like, fine. Francisco Lindor has not been good. Obviously, what he provides defensively is, we all know what he does defensively, but the bat's not been there. Pete Alonso's Pete Alonso, but who else are you trusting in that lineup? I'm not trusting Jeff McNeil or Brandon Nimmo. I'm not trusting any of those guys.
But here's the thing. I know that, like, looking at the stats right now would most certainly show that, but it truly does not matter, because if you see Francisco Lindor go out and have a 3-for-4 afternoon in Game 1 of the NLDS, then all of that talk isn't going to matter. It's going to shift to Francisco Lindor is hot, and he's back to postseason form. And I get that being able to look at it from a 162-game stretch, yes, it looks like they're struggling. But it's kind of where you get to the point of the Mets bullpen again. Like, albeit they haven't been the brightest, I don't think a lot of teams are going to be that happy whenever you look at a 7th or 8th inning with Helsley and a 9th inning with Edwin Diaz. Those aren't comfortable pitchers to go up against.
But
I think what's happening now doesn't speak to the quality of pitcher. And it doesn't matter. Like, your record is irrelevant once the playoffs start. Right. And I totally agree with Nick. And I know what we're talking. Like, I wouldn't want to go up against Ryan Helsley when it comes to a late inning matchup. You know who I sure as hell would rather go up against Ryan Brazier with the Cubs bullpen than I would Ryan Helsley. Okay, and that's a spot that I love the Cubs. And you know what? To their credit, they've pieced together some guys in that bullpen that was awful to start the year. They've pieced together, like, failed starters and, like, former, like, guys that have just been hanging around the league and somehow been, like, just throw these 2 pitches and you'll be fine in the bullpen, or you'll be fine in the bullpen. Brad Keller,
Ben Brown.
Like, I remember whenever he was a starter with the Royals.
Yep.
He was terrible. He was exactly like, you're going to be a 4.5 ERA guy and you're going to like it. And now Brad Keller, like, but that's the thing. It's like, Brad Keller's the Cubs' 8th inning guy, right? Most of the time.
Yeah.
Maybe Caleb Thielbar, but he doesn't throw hard, and I get worried with teams that don't have much swing and miss out of the back end of the bullpen. And Daniel Palencia, he has been good, but you saw against Milwaukee, he has moments where he can't find the strike zone, and he also has times where the swing and miss just isn't there. And it's a very similar story when you go to the starting rotation with a guy like Ben Brown, who in theory would have really good stuff to come out of the bullpen with a above average, like, 98 fastball and a curveball that's really good, but we're not seeing much swing and miss. So strikeouts play well in the playoffs. I think teams, especially in close games, if you have just swing and miss guys, those are the teams that generally play pretty well. And maybe we haven't talked about Detroit yet.
I would say we're coming up on an hour and a half now.
That's an offense That's an offense that I really like.
Yeah.
But like rotation and pitching wise, I love Detroit.
That's scary.
We need to quickly. Would that be your pick to make it out of the AL, Brendan? Like quickly, everyone
Absolutely.
make their pick.
And by the way, I love how quickly Detroit has turned around.
yes,
They,
Their
two
bullpen's
AJ Hinch.
seasons ago, they were irrelevant. Yeah, their bullpen isn't great, but they were so irrelevant.
Kyle
I'm cheering
Finnegan.
for Detroit.
Austin, who's coming out of the AL? If you're picking today,
I do like the Tigers. Give me Toronto. Toronto's been really good.
Okay,
Give me
yeah.
Toronto.
Sonny, who's your
I like
who's your
looking at
call
these together.
out of the
I
American League?
mean, the American League. I mean, I have to go with Brendan here. I mean, Detroit's just just unmatched right now.
Yeah, they're playing good ball. Nick,
I mean,
Especially
Seattle.
if you get an off day in a series where you could throw Skubal twice in a 5-game series.
yes,
Yeah.
Seattle's my second pick. If I had to pick away from them,
they turn it around.
Yeah.
I think the answer is still Houston. I think until they really fall off a cliff, it's Houston or bust every year.
Wrong.
I'm getting just a sneaky feeling about this young Red Sox core that I think
I was just
could
about
show
to say
up.
the Red Sox.
Could
I know
show
you-
up in October. I think it's kind of breaking to be a Houston year, but I think I'm the most confident in Detroit. It feels like it should be Houston, but I kind of want it to be Boston. That's kind of
By the
where
way,
I'm
I
at
Got the
now.
Boston
really-
memo.
Well, how many
I
games
really
back are
want
Boston?
one of
right
those AL Central teams to sneak in the playoff, though. Like, I would love to have another year where we get multiple AL Central teams in the playoff.
Watch out for Cleveland.
Yeah, I was going to
They're
say
too busy
Kansas
gambling
City has
every other day. So
Well, Kansas
Watch
City has
out.
a pretty favorable schedule, though. They have 2 more series with the White Sox.
now. Just watch out. Watch out for the White Sox. Why are we sleeping on the White Sox?
All right,
Haven't
let's.
they already been eliminated?
I think they were eliminated before the season started.
There's no way of knowing.
oh man.
Let's. All right, let's do this grid. We're about out of time, so
Ooh.
let's go ahead, and I'll let the Cubs guys run their column. I'm gonna go ahead and put John Jaso as a Pirates first baseman.
I mean,
Jesus.
we got.
what a-
You.
I mean that's
There's Carl Edwards Jr. as a Mariner and a Cub.
Well, I was going to say Mike Montgomery, who famously pitched the last out of the
The last
Cubs
out
That
of
is
the
World
also
Series.
Series.
that's also a good shout too.
I like it. 4%.
let me think.
How many
Dude, can I
people
think
do you
of-
think
can I think of
remembered
something
that
goofy?
Michael A. Taylor was on the Pirates?
So, what I'm trying to think too. Michael A. Taylor, yeah.
That's a great call,
I mean,
Nick.
The Cubs Pirates one that comes to mind is Jose Quintana, but I mean that's just way too obvious. I feel like.
Yeah, I was thinking Aramis Ramirez. That's the first name for me, but
Yeah.
again, that's a guy that was really good.
There has to be somebody more funny. Like,
Oh well, yeah.
wasn't there like there has to be like a rental bullpen arm from like 2014.
Oh,
Who
has
did
to be.
Chris Archer play for? Did Chris Archer ever go to Chicago?
Oh my god, I don't believe so.
Surely
I don't
not.
think he did.
And
I just think of him as a Pirates rental, so that would have been great if he would have fallen in there.
They mortgaged their future for Chris Archer, and it did not pan out for them. Although Tampa, in the grand scheme of things, they got a couple good years out of Glass now and a couple good years out of Austin Meadows, but
I mean, there's
they
James
could
Taillon, too.
have got a better haul. Yeah, James Taillon.
Dude, I'm trying to think of Seattle first base.
Wait.
Do we want to go
I
Victor
know
Robles
one.
for this middle square?
No, hang on. I know one because I think he plays for the Diamond. No, who is it? Shelby? Does Shelby Miller play for the Diamondbacks right now? Who does Shelby
He's a
Miller
Brewer.
play for?
Hey, buddy.
He's a Brewer.
The Brewer.
He
Okay,
was
so
on
he
the
also
Brewer
played for the Cubs.
Was he a
Okay,
Pirate?
he also played for the Cubs, and I'm fairly certain he played for the Pirates.
I don't know if
Shelby
I
Miller's
remember
played
the
for
Shelby
every
Miller the
team
Pirate.
ever.
I don't know.
I think Shelby Miller has played for the Pirates.
Can I get Carlos Santana for played first base minimum game and Seattle Mariners?
There we go.
Boom.
Oh,
Nice.
If you get the
Nice.
famous Wellington Castillo.
Oh yes, we could.
Hey,
He's
does
banned.
any Cub fan remember the legend of Taylor Teagarden?
That name rings a bell. I'm not. That,
Yeah, he got caught like betting, and then got like basically, or maybe it was PEDs, but he basically got banned from baseball.
Those are two completely. Those are wow.
He got banned from baseball. You bring up an old Cubs catcher.
Wait, how old are we going? Because if we're getting banned for like steroids here and everything, I mean,
Yeah, we're getting banned for steroids, but Reese McGuire has a job. Like, are we serious?
goes to the game.
Like, Reese McGuire, bro, I could go on for days about how much I hate Reese McGuire.
Daniel Murphy wouldn't fit somewhere here, would he?
I don't think he was a manager.
That's funny.
Would he have had
Was
40
Daniel
more?
Murphy a Pirate though?
No, he wasn't a Pirate. I was seeing the Nationals.
Tommy
picture
La
to
Stella.
figure out.
Did Tommy La Stella play for the Pirates ever?
I don't
like he
know,
was
but I just
a-
remember him playing for a Cub. Well, I'm looking.
I don't think
Don't look
And he
this
played
up.
for the Angels, but did he go anywhere after the Angels?
What about that?
Did Carl Edwards Jr. pitch for the Pirates
Yes.
at some point?
No,
did.
Yes.
not the Pirates. Did he?
If he did for the Pirates, I know he did for the Cubs.
I know he did
Yeah.
for Seattle.
I don't think a lot of people would choose Carl Edwards Jr. for that Cubs Pirates one.
You would be
But-
surprised, buddy.
I'm nervous. What do we want to try Shelby or
Atlanta,
do we want to try
Chicago,
Carl Edwards Jr. here?
Oakland.
I want to try
Cubs.
Carl Edwards Jr. because isn't that like Hardee's across the
Carl's
river?
Jr. Carl's Jr.
Is it Carl's Jr.? Yeah, it's Carl's Edwards
Yeah.
Jr. now. Yeah, bring him one down.
Dang it.
Well, now we get extra innings.
Nick,
Hold
you're
on.
an
So now
idiot.
we get as many as
I
we
know.
want.
Nick.
Actually, let's save it. Let's save it. We'll do it after
I
we
think
finish the grid.
I swear Shelby Miller
Shelby?
will go in that column. I
I'll
think
do it.
Shelby Miller has. I feel like he's played two. Yeah. Okay. 3 games total with the Pirates.
We'll check that after.
That's-
Nationals correspondent. Where's our
Damn it.
40-plus war guy?
40 plus war.
Yeah, we haven't even touched this bottom row.
This bottom row is gonna
Nelson
be,
Cruz. Nelson Cruz.
Nelson Cruz.
Noted
Yeah,
national
40
Nelson
more.
Cruz. I mean, he hit 40 home runs for 10 years.
Yeah, but he didn't play
How much is
defense, so it's like
No, he didn't. Yeah.
2 war.
Hey, we also need to think of some of these guys to put in that played first base and had 40 career WAR. Like in that bottom right corner.
Dude, like, you could think of somebody stupid. I mean,
Has
That's-
Anthony Rizzo
Yeah.
had 40 career WAR?
I believe so. Yes.
He had.
Joe
Probably.
Mauer.
Joe, are we certain that Joe Mauer's at 40?
Surely. Right.
I mean, that MVP season was probably somewhere in the 6 to 8
He had a
range,
long
right?
career.
yeah, and he played
What-
catcher. you
What
know?
about Brian Dozier? Would Brian Dozier have had 40-plus war?
No.
Dude, there's no.
He would not have.
shot.
There's no way.
There's no way of knowing.
It's been too long without having Brian Dozier in my life to know.
Dude,
for sure.
he's never. Oh my god. There's
Hey,
no
I
way
can
we're
think of
talking
a
about.
I can think of a Cub that had 40 career WAR. That I
Who
don't
you
think a
got?
lot of people. I know Cole Hamels probably had 40 career WAR.
Ooh, that's
That's it.
nice.
That's it.
There we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cubs legend Cole Hamels.
I think about that Sunday night baseball game where it was him and Max Scherzer going against each other, with like Cole Hamels like basically end of his career, but still like somehow like just throwing his best stuff. Like and Cole Hamels was a Cub for like 1 year, and
Yeah.
I loved him.
Oh yeah.
Washington. Do we? Are we?
Adrian Gonzalez? Did he ever? He wouldn't have gotten 40 war. He would have probably been too far out.
I
I
don't
mean,
want to
the
go. What
only-
about Joey
the only-
Votto? Like Joey Votto? How many people are saying Joey Votto for that?
I mean,
I mean, maybe.
That's a guy I'm certain has 40 WAR.
That
Oh,
Joey Votto would be great. But I
Joey
think that's a
Votto.
pretty common answer. But
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of first basemen that
I
have
think,
played baseball.
what about
over the
Andrew
years.
McCutcheon? Has he ever played first base? Like at any?
That's what I was trying to think. Like maybe like A-Rod at the tail end.
what about like
Ben-
Ben Zobrist? I'm sure he played first base at one point in his
He,
career.
I
keep
feel like he
thinking of
has.
Cubs.
Yes.
No, Ben Zobrist.
Is there like a catcher?
Ki-
Is there a
Kyle
catcher that
Schwarber.
I mean,
think-
Yachty, Molina.
Because I'm sure
Molina.
Yachty or
Yachty
Molina
played a ton
or
of-
Salvador Perez, but like
Salvi is
Yachty
actively
played a ton
playing
of games at
first.
first base.
Yeah.
There we go.
Good work,
Yachty.
guys.
Yeah.
Good work.
yeah.
All right.
How is
Yeah.
Shelby Miller less guest in Chicago Pirates than Yadier Molina playing first fucking base? That is literally insane.
It's minimum one game, bro.
Would,
Pretty much every
Yeah.
catcher will play first one time
Yeah.
in their
I mean,
career.
Is Zimmerman too easy of a guess for nationals?
He's like the. We get the Expos for this, right? As well.
That's what I was gonna ask if we did, but I don't know. I don't know. That's the only one
I'm
I can
taking
think
my
of.
Victor Robles. So that's 11. That's our
11.
highest.
Okay, so
122. We can beat that. We got 31 in the test episode when we went 9 for 9.
Well, there's Jason Worth, right?
Yeah.
Damn.
That
It's-
damn.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long
didn't think of
career.
That one.
I like
Anthony
that.
Rendon.
No, that's the opposite of a long
Fine.
career. I'll try it. We get unlimited guesses now.
Jonathan Papelbon.
No,
Dude,
We
there's
just get-
no
Oh,
way.
we just get to keep
Jonathan
guessing.
Papelbon?
no.
There's no
Whoa.
fucking
No
he had
shot.
40 war.
No.
No shot.
Who did I? Oh yeah, Nelson Cruz. I want to try that. There we go. 1%.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
I was gonna say,
Dude,
Okay.
okay, no, now we got me. Now we got to see how much war Nelson Cruz had in his career. He had 42. He had 42, and he played 20 fucking years. That is literally insane. We're
That's
Victor
insane.
Cruz. Victor.
Is that
We're-
good, chat?
I would say 122.
I mean,
We can
40
do
war is
better.
good.
Oh, 40. Yeah.
42 for playing 80 years. I
Chat's
wouldn't say that's
42
too
more than
good.
you.
He started at like
Dude.
30 though.
And he peaked. He started.
See, there's a Ramos.
Graham, I'd like to point
Yeah.
out you brought up the most common answer.
I did.
Yeah.
See, and I said not to use it, but it's only 17%. Either
I forgot
way.
about Josh Bell
Yeah.
in Pittsburgh.
hey,
So average
thought that was
7.3. We can improve on that. We can do better, and we'll do other sports too at different times, depending on the crew that we have assembled. But we're a baseball crew. You could probably tell from watching that episode that we're baseball guys. Thank you guys. Thank all of you guys for coming on this first episode. This was good. I think there's a lot of good stuff here. People are going to enjoy this, watching this on Saturday morning. Thank you guys listening at home for listening. Make sure to subscribe to the page if you're watching on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify or Apple if you're listening there. And give us a follow on all our socials, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. 5 Out Podcast is what you're looking for on all those pages. Thank you guys for listening. We'll do it again, same time next week. See you then.
peace.